So US President Joe Biden has weighed into the US college campus protests over Gaza, and protesters are not impressed.
We've all seen the images, and they put to the test two fundamental American principles. The first is the right to free speech and for people to peacefully assemble and make their voices heard. The second is the rule of law. Both must be upheld. We are not an authoritarian nation where we silence people or squash dissent.
All good points. So then, what was this? After Biden's speech, some students had a few choice words for the president.
What I would say to the president is, what was happening in Colombia and UCLA was a freedom of speech, and it was peaceful. People were chanting. The only violation that was done was actually by the police themselves. They were the ones attacking.
Despite Biden's comments about the sanctity of free speech, most universities have been threatening students with expulsion, suspension, and arrest all along. Some have made good on those threats with the help of police forces, often accused of excessive force. Back to President Biden.
Vandalism, trespassing, breaking windows, shutting down campuses, forcing the cancellation of classes and graduations. None of this is a peaceful protest.
At Columbia University, where the protest camp movement began, it's worth remembering that students took over a campus building only after they were told to leave the camp or face arrest. Now, more than 2,000 protesters have been arrested at universities across the US, many on charges of unlawful assembly at protest camps that they insist are non-threatening, peaceful places.
Threatening people, intimidating people, instilling fear in people is not peaceful protest. It's against the law.
Fair enough, but who was doing the threatening? We know universities were threatening action, and so were the police. And as we saw at UCLA, pro-Israel thugs, many of whom weren't even students, had been threatening students for days before they launched a violent attack on protesters. To borrow a phrase from the president, we've all seen the images. According to Biden, the right to free speech is a fundamental American principle. But pro-Palestinian protesters are convinced it's not a right being properly afforded to them.